What if the heaviest things you carry are the ones no one can see? They don't have a physical weight or a tangible form, yet they press down on your mind, influence your decisions, and quietly shape the entire course of your life. Psychology suggests that true personal freedom doesn't come from changing the world around you, but from silently eliminating the invisible burdens within you. This isn't about dramatic upheavals or loud declarations. It's about a quiet internal revolution. It's a process of letting go of the habits, beliefs, and emotional patterns that were programmed into you long ago, often without your consent. Today, we're going to explore 10 of these burdens, the things you must quietly eliminate from your life to reclaim your mental clarity and build a genuine sense of self. The first thing to quietly let go of is the relentless need for external validation. Have you ever posted something online and then found yourself checking for likes, comments, or shares every few minutes? Or perhaps you accomplished something significant at work, but the satisfaction felt hollow until your boss or a colleague acknowledged it. This is the search for external validation in action. It's a deeply human pattern, rooted in our evolutionary need for belonging. For our ancestors, being accepted by the tribe meant survival. Rejection meant danger. That ancient wiring is still active within you, but in the modern world, it has become distorted. It now attaches itself to superficial metrics, likes on a screen, the praise of people whose opinions may not even matter, or the approval of a society that often values image over substance. Why does this need to be eliminated? Because when you dep on external approval for your sense of worth, you are giving away your power. You are handing the keys to your emotional well-being to others. You become a reflection of what you think people want to see, rather than a source of your own light. This creates a fragile sense of self, one that can be shattered by a single criticism or even just a lack of attention. The quiet work here is to begin sourcing your validation from within. It starts by asking yourself a simple question after you've done something you're proud of. How do I feel about this? Learn to sit with your own sense of accomplishment, to be your own witness. The goal is not to stop caring about others, but to stop needing their applause to feel that you are enough. This is the first step toward building an unbreakable core of self-worth. The second thing you must quietly eliminate is your unexamined expectations of others. Think about the last time you felt disappointed by someone. Perhaps a fry didn't text you back, a partner didn't react the way you hoped, or a family member failed to offer support. Where did that feeling of disappointment truly come from? It didn't come from their action, but from the gap between their action and what you expected them to do. We all carry around these invisible rulebooks for how other people should behave. We create detailed scripts in our minds for our fries, partners, and even strangers, and we feel personally slighted when they fail to follow them. You expect them to know what you need without you having to say it. You expect them to share your values and priorities. You expect them to react to a situation just as you would. This pattern is a primary source of silent, self-inflicted suffering. Stoic philosophy teaches a powerful lesson here. The only thing you truly control is your own mind, your thoughts, your judgments, and your actions. The actions of others are entirely outside of your control. By placing unspoken expectations on people, you are setting yourself up for a life of constant frustration. Eliminating this habit doesn't mean you should lower your standards or accept poor treatment. It means you learn to differentiate between a reasonable request and a silent demand. It means communicating your needs clearly instead of assuming others can read your mind. It means accepting that other people are sovereign individuals on their own path, with their own internal worlds and motivations. When you quietly release these unwritten contracts, you free not only them, but yourself. You begin to engage with people as they are, not as you wish them to be. And in that space, genuine connection becomes possible. The third thing to quietly remove from your life is the habit of replaying your past mistakes. Have you ever been lying in bed trying to fall asleep when your mind suddenly serves you a vivid memory of something you did wrong years ago? A clumsy comment, a failed project, a moment of poor judgment. You feel the same flush of shame or regret as if it just happened. This is rumination. It's a mental loop where you endlessly chew on the same negative thoughts and feelings, believing that if you just analyze it enough, you can somehow fix it. But the past is not a problem to be solved. It's a chapter that has already been written. From a behavioral perspective, this habit is often a misguided attempt by the brain to protect you. Your mind is trying to learn from the mistake to ensure you never experience that pain again. The problem is, it gets stuck. Instead of extracting the lesson and moving on, it keeps you trapped in the emotional experience of the failure itself. It's like watching the same scene of a movie over and over, hoping for a different ing. You are essentially punishing your present self for the actions of a past self who no longer exists. That person had different knowledge, different experiences, and a different level of awareness. You have grown since then, yet you to hold yourself accountable to a standard you didn't possess at the time. The quiet elimination of this pattern involves a conscious shift in perspective. It's learning to treat your past self with a degree of compassion. When the memory arises, instead of diving into the familiar spiral of self-criticism, you can acknowledge it with a simple internal nod. You can say to yourself, yes, that happened. I learned from it. It is over. This isn't about denial or pleading. It wasn't a mistake. It's about integration. It's about accepting that this experience is part of your story, but it does not define your present reality. By refusing to give these old memories your emotional energy, you starve them of their power. You quietly unplug the projector that keeps replaying the scene, and in the silence that follows, you find the freedom to live fully in the now. The fourth thing you must quietly let go of is the addiction to being right. This is one of the most subtle and destructive traps for the ego. Think about the last time you were in a disagreement, whether it was about politics, the best way to load a dishwasher, or the details of a shared memory. What was your primary goal in that conversation? Was it to connect with the other person and understand their perspective? Or was it to prove that your version of reality was the correct one? For many of us, the drive to be right is automatic and overwhelming. We feel a deep, visceral need to def our position as if our very identity were under attack. In a psychological sense, this is exactly what's happening. The ego, our sense of I, latches onto beliefs, opinions, and knowledge as extensions of itself. When someone challenges your belief, your ego interprets it as a challenge to you. This triggers a defensive posture. Your mind closes, you stop listening, and you start formulating your counter-argument. Winning the argument provides a fleeting sense of validation and superiority, which reinforces the behavior. But what is the long-term cost? You sacrifice connection for correctness. You sacrifice learning for the comfort of your existing beliefs. You sacrifice peace for the turmoil of constant, low-level conflict. To quietly eliminate this addiction, you must learn to detach your sense of self from your opinions. Your opinions are not you. They are temporary viewpoints based on the information you currently have. They are meant to be flexible, to be updated as you learn and grow. The quiet practice is to enter conversations with curiosity instead of a sword and shield. It's about shifting your internal goal from how can I win to what can I learn here. This doesn't mean you should abandon your principles or become a passive observer. It means you value truth more than you value your ego. When you stop needing to be right, a whole new world opens up. You can listen without judgment. You can change your mind without shame. You release an enormous amount of mental energy that was previously spent on defense, and you can reinvest it in genuine understanding and growth. The fifth thing you must quietly eliminate is the glorification of being busy. How often, when someone asks how you are, does the word busy spring to your lips? It's often said with a strange mix of exhaustion and pride, as if a packed schedule were a badge of honor. In our culture, busyness has become a stand-in for importance, for relevance, for a life being well lived. To be busy is to be in demand. To have no free time is to be a person of consequence. We wear our exhaustion like a medal, believing that a collar filled with tasks is the ultimate proof of our worth. But what if this relentless activity is not a sign of vitality, but a symptom of avoidance? Psychology suggests that for many, busyness is a powerful defense mechanism. It's a shield we hold up to protect ourselves from the discomfort of stillness. When you are constantly moving, planning, working, and responding, you don't have to sit with the difficult questions that arise in the quiet moments. You don't have to confront the feeling that something is missing, or the fear that you might be on the wrong path. You don't have to face the parts of yourself you've been trying to outrun. Busyness creates a constant noise that effectively drowns out the subtle and sometimes unsettling whispers of your own inner voice. It keeps you on the surface of your life, preventing you from ever having to look at what lies in the depths. To quietly eliminate this glorification is not to embrace laziness, it is to embrace intention. The work is to begin discerning between meaningful productivity and frantic motion. It's about pausing before you say yes to another commitment and asking yourself, does this align with my deeper values? Or am I just trying to fill a space? It's about scheduling moments of intentional emptiness, a walk with no destination, 10 minutes of sitting with your thoughts, an evening with no plans. At first, this emptiness might feel intensely uncomfortable. That discomfort is a signal that you are doing the real work. You are learning to be with yourself without a task list to hide behind. In doing so, you exchange the hollow validation of being busy for the profound nourishment of being present. The sixth thing you must quietly eliminate is the passive consumption of negative information. Think about your daily information diet. Do you wake up and immediately reach for your phone to check the news, scrolling through headlines of disaster, conflict, and outrage? Do you find yourself caught in social media feeds that are algorithmically designed to show you what will provoke the strongest emotional reaction? We often tell ourselves this is about staying informed, but there's a crucial difference between being informed and being inundated. Passive consumption is not a search for knowledge. It's an unconscious submission to a stream of fear, anger, and anxiety. Our brains are hardwired with a negativity bias. This was a crucial survival tool for our ancestors. It was far more important to notice the single tiger in the bushes than the 100 beautiful flowers in the field. But in the modern world, this ancient wiring is being relentlessly exploited. News outlets and social platforms understand that fear and outrage are the most effective ways to capture and hold your attention. By passively scrolling, you are allowing them to hijack your neurology. You are marinating your mind in a worldview of constant crisis, training your nervous system to be in a perpetual state of low-grade alert. This doesn't empower you to make the world a better place. On the contrary, it often leads to a sense of helplessness and despair known as learned helplessness, leaving you feeling too overwhelmed to take any meaningful action at all. Quietly eliminating this habit means becoming a gatekeeper for your own mind. It requires a shift from being a passive consumer to an active curator. This isn't about burying your head in the sand and ignoring the problems of the world. It's about choosing how and when you engage with them. It might mean replacing your morning scroll with 5 minutes of silence. It might mean choosing one or two trusted sources for news and checking them at a specific time of day, rather than letting information wash over you constantly. It's about asking a critical question. Is this information serving me? Is it empowering me, or is it just making me anxious? By consciously curating your mental diet, you reclaim your most precious resource, your attention. You create the mental space necessary to focus on what you can actually control: your own actions, your own state of mind, and your own positive contribution to the world around you. The seventh thing you must quietly eliminate is your silent contracts with mediocrity. These are the unspoken agreements you make with yourself to play small, to stay within the comfortable confines of your current abilities, and to avoid the risks that are necessary for true growth. Have you ever had a brilliant idea, a spark of inspiration for a new project or a different path, only to have a second voice in your head immediately shut it down? A voice that says, "That's too ambitious. You're not qualified. Or what if you fail?" That voice is the guardian of your comfort zone, and the silent contract is your agreement to listen to it. This pattern is rooted in a deep, often unconscious fear of failure. But it's also more subtle than that. It can be a fear of success. What if you actually achieve what you set out to do? That would mean new responsibilities, higher expectations, and a new identity. It's often easier to stay in the familiar territory of what is than to venture into the unknown landscape of what could be. So you make a bargain with yourself. You agree not to try too hard, and in exchange, you get to avoid the potential pain of disappointment and the discomfort of stepping into a larger version of yourself. You might even rationalize this by telling yourself you're being realistic or practical, when in reality, you are negotiating the terms of your own containment. Quietly tearing up these contracts is an act of internal rebellion. It begins with the simple act of noticing. Notice when that voice of doubt speaks. Notice the physical sensation of resistance when you think about stepping outside your normal routine. Don't argue with the voice, just observe it. Recognize it for what it is: a protective mechanism that is trying to keep you safe, but is inadvertently keeping you stuck. The next step is to take one small, almost imperceptible action in the direction of your fear. You don't have to quit your job and start a new company tomorrow. Maybe you just SP 15 minutes researching that idea. Maybe you just write one paragraph. These small acts are declarations that you are no longer bound by that old agreement. You are quietly communicating to yourself that you are willing to trade the comfort of mediocrity for the aliveness of growth. Each tiny step weakens the old contract and begins to write a new one, an agreement based not on fear but on potential. The eighth thing you must quietly eliminate is the habit of comparing your life to the curated highlight reels of others. This is an ancient human tendency that has been supercharged by the technology of the 21st century. Your ancestors might have compared their harvest to their neighbors, but you are now able to compare your ordinary Tuesday afternoon to someone else's perfectly filtered vacation in an exotic location, their career promotion, their romantic engagement, or their new home. You are comparing your behind-the-scenes reality with everyone else's public performance. And in that comparison, you will almost always find yourself lacking. The psychological impact of this is profound. It breeds feelings of envy, inadequacy, and a persistent sense that you are somehow falling behind in the race of life. It distorts your perception of what a normal life actually looks like. You begin to believe that everyone else is happier, more successful, and more fulfilled than you are, because you are only seeing the evidence they choose to show you. You don't see their struggles, their doubts, their failures, or their own moments of quiet desperation. This constant upward comparison creates a social comparison-induced stress, a chronic state of dissatisfaction where your own life, no matter how good it might be, never feels like it's enough. The quiet elimination of this habit is a practice of radical self-focus. It's about consciously redirecting your attention from their journey back to your own. When you find yourself scrolling and feeling that familiar pang of envy, it's a cue to put the device down and connect with your own reality. What is one small thing in your life right now that you can be grateful for? What is one step you can take today, no matter how small, that moves you closer to a goal that is genuinely your own, not one you've adopted from someone else's feed? The work is to replace comparison with self-awareness. Instead of asking, why don't I have what they have? You start asking, what do I truly want, and what am I doing to create it? This shift is monumental. It moves you from the position of a passive spectator in other people's lives to an active creator in your own. You realize that the only life you can live is yours, and the only valid comparison is between who you are today and who you were yesterday. The ninth thing you must quietly eliminate is the unconscious emotional baggage you've inherited from your family. Every family system has its own set of unspoken rules, beliefs, and emotional patterns that are passed down from one generation to the next. Perhaps you grew up in a household where anger was never expressed, so you learned to suppress it. Or maybe you were raised in an environment of constant anxiety, and you now carry a baseline level of worry that feels like your own, but isn't. These are called legacy emotions, or intergenerational patterns. You absorb them in your childhood, not through explicit instruction, but through observation and emotional osmosis. They become part of your own emotional operating system before you even have the conscious ability to question them. Think about your default reaction to stress. Is it to become controlling, to withdraw, to people please? How similar is that reaction to that of one of your parents or caregivers? We often find ourselves repeating the very emotional cycles we swore we would break. This isn't a personal failing, it's the power of unconscious programming. These patterns are like invisible currents that pull you in a certain direction. You might be trying to steer your life toward peace and connection, but if you're caught in an inherited current of conflict or emotional distance, you will find yourself constantly fighting just to stay on course without ever understanding why it feels so difficult. The quiet work of eliminating this baggage is a journey of deep self-awareness. It's about becoming a detective of your own inner world. It starts with asking questions. Where did I learn to believe this about money? Whose voice do I hear in my head when I feel like I'm not good enough? Is this anxiety truly mine, or is it an echo from my past? This process is not about blaming your family. It's about understanding the origins of your programming so that you can consciously choose to write a new code. It's about recognizing that you can honor where you came from without being imprisoned by it. As you begin to untangle your own feelings from the ones you inherited, you create a space for your authentic emotional self to emerge. You realize that you don't have to carry the emotional debts of previous generations. You can put the baggage down. You can be the one in your lineage who breaks the cycle and chooses a different way of being, not just for yourself, but for the generations that will follow. And finally, the 10th thing you must quietly eliminate from your life is the illusion that you will have more time later. This is perhaps the most pervasive and subtle form of self-sabotage. It's the belief that your real life, the one where you pursue your passions, have that difficult conversation, or finally prioritize your well-being, will start at some point in the future. It will start after you get the promotion, after the kids are grown, after you retire, after things calm down. We live our lives as if we are rehearsing for a performance that is always just around the corner, perpetually waiting in the wings for our cue to begin. This mindset is a byproduct of a brain that is designed to seek comfort and avoid risk. The present moment can feel messy, challenging, and uncertain. The future, on the other hand, can be a perfect, idealized fantasy. By postponing our most important actions to this imaginary future, we protect ourselves from the possibility of present moment failure or discomfort. It's a comforting illusion, but it comes at an immense cost: the life you are actually living right now. You are trading the tangible reality of today for the vague promise of a tomorrow that is never guaranteed. As the Stoics remind us, time is the one resource that, once spent, can never be reclaimed. Every moment you spend waiting is a moment you will not get back. Eliminating this illusion is the ultimate act of taking ownership of your life. It is the quiet, daily decision to show up for the life you have, not the one you hope to have someday. It's about understanding that calm is not a destination you arrive at. It's a state of mind you cultivate amidst the chaos. The work is to identify one thing, just one, that you have been putting off for later, and to take the smallest possible step toward it today. You don't have to write the whole book. You just have to write one sentence. You don't have to heal all your relationships. You just have to S one honest text. This is the practice of collapsing the distance between the person you are and the person you want to be. It is the realization that your life is not a dress rehearsal. The performance is happening now. By letting go of the myth of later, you finally give yourself permission to step onto the stage and fully live. This isn't about creating a frantic urgency, but a peaceful presence. It is the deep, empowering understanding that this moment, right here, is the only one you truly have. These 10 eliminations are not about becoming a perfect, flawless person. That is an impossible and undesirable goal. This is about becoming a more conscious one. It is a process of subtraction, of gently removing the layers of conditioning, fear, and illusion that obscure your true self. It's a quiet, internal process that requires no announcement, no audience, and no external applause. It is the steady, courageous work of reclaiming your mind, freeing your spirit, and building a life that is not just lived, but deliberately and authentically chosen. It's about mastering the art of the quiet release, and in doing so, finding the profound peace that comes from traveling light. Your freedom is not in what you acquire, but in what you let go.